Welcome to Podtendo, a Nintendo podcast, where they analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games.
And courage, a life's mission begins. You can experience it as Samus in Metroid Zero Mission, her first adventure as an intergalactic bounty hunter. Rated E for everyone.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Podtendo podcast, where we analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games. We can contact it on Twitter at Podtendo Podcast. Email us, podtendo@gmail.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, other stuff, potentially. I don't know. Maybe we search those, maybe we not. We are a review, let's play pop culture retrospective. So that's what you're getting into, those four things, and some extent we will look over today. I'm your co-host, Mick. I'm joined every episode by my lovely and talented co-host,
Tyson.
Nice. Good job.
Yeah. We have a fun game on our hands.
Yeah, so I guess off to start introducing, we are playing Metroid Zero Mission on today's episode. It's kind of fun. Yeah, we're going to be looking into this, and I guess the Game Boy Advanced partner? Maybe the same game? Fusion? It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's a neat little franchise. I mean, it's I think this comes after Super Metroid, and it's nice that they just kind of went back and repolished up the first game. This is exactly what you want in a remake. Just like literally tighter controls, better graphics, and a little bit expanded.
Is it or is it a reimagining?
It's probably reimagining or something. I don't know, but it's in my mind, it's a remake done right.
Okay,
this is how you do. This is how you should do it.
Oh, and I agree. Whatever it is, whatever genre it counts as, it's done very well, and I'll give it credit for that. So cool. So without, I guess, further ado, we're just diving into it. This is a numbered show, so we're gonna get the full Podtendo experience. Let's dive into those vital stats. See what's going on. So developed by Nintendo R&D 1, it sold 1.42 million copies. It was released February 9th, 2004. How Long to Beat has this game at 4.5 hours. Price at release was $49.99. If you factored in inflation, that would be $66 today. On eBay, it goes from about $20 to $160. Oh my gosh. On eShop, you can I think it's available on the Wii U. I think I fired up my Wii U and it was like $8 or something like that. So it's kind of neat. Where to play? You can play original cart, a Wii U, or an emulator.
Yeah. Kind of limited, but definitely worth seeking out. I think that for all the times we've gotten the first Metroid, it'd be nice to see these games kind of released again. But I guess if you have a Wii U, that works. But it just bring it to the Switch. I just want these games.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't have a better... I mean, because they have some type of subscription service for their virtual console. I guess is like the thinking, right?
Yeah. I think, well, they see how successful Microsoft has been with the Game Pass. Mm-hmm. And I think that they are just trying to be like, let's just expand this idea. Because I know even back in the day when it came to like online gaming, they like Xbox Live was the gold standard. Like just for when Halo launched, to actually like just build that infrastructure properly and have games talk to one another. They kind of just like standardized that, and everybody just like took it and was like, let's run with this. And like Microsoft's like, yes please, like let's bring everybody online, like we're totally okay with this. So I think a lot of information was shared, but it's one of those things where everybody kind of like just finds a good idea and just runs with it. So maybe they're going to eventually release like all these games on like a Game Boy or Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, the expansion pack, or whatever the heck they're calling them now.
I guess you're right, but like they're looking like the consoles, like they move so slowly. Like they did the NES, and the Super Nintendo was shortly thereafter, and then it was like years before we got the Super Nintendo. And I would almost think that a newer console is on the horizon for Nintendo than them just continuing to grow the Switch, right?
Yeah. But I forget where I read this, but I know that they said that there was an internal memo or whatever, and I'm sure that this was like it has like a goofy number for specific reasons, just for like hiding when they're working on things. Is they were like, we're going to work on a new console we're gonna have it released by 2099. Like they were literally planning like the next 77 years we'll get the next one out. And they're like, obviously they're like doing it tongue-in-cheekly just in case this ever gets released, and of course it did. Yeah, I think that they're definitely looking to the future because the Switch is old hardware at this point. I think that they have a good platform and they can just kind of reiterate what PlayStation and Microsoft did, was just be like, here's from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 and Xbox One to Xbox Series X. It's like there's not much of a platform change. It's just better hardware, so things will run smoother and they can just keep with modern, better graphics, and more things can run on it, and bigger, better titles can fit on and run well on their platform, because there's hardware is running a little bit behind, but I don't know. It's Nintendo. They never worry about that stuff. They'll just release more Mario games and Zelda games, and we'll just eat it up.
Yeah, but to my point, I just don't understand where the Game Boy library fits into this equation, right? Like, it's kind of the forgotten son, and it's almost... I mean, I guess in theory, if they're not giving you a legitimate way to play it, feel free to emulate it.
Yeah, that's my roundabout way of being like, yeah, I agree. Completely agree.
Like, if they had a virtual shop or a subscription service that included the Game Boy Advance library, well, then go buy it. But like, until they give you that, just emulate it, right? I think it's kind of that simple. So,
no, I completely agree. Especially because it's like, make this available. You have the ability to just do it. So
yeah, all right, yeah. So I mean, emulate this game. Essentially, is what we're saying. We're promoting that. That's how I played this game. Although I think I have a physical copy of Fusion, not this much this game. So I'll go from there. All right. So now, I guess the one thing we have to do, and because it's a numbered show, we have to put that coat of paint on it, and we have to jump into our patented Wayback Machine. We want to see what the pop culture landscape looked like when this game came out, so you can know if you're alive potentially in 2004. Why did you play it? Why did you not play it? Right. So let's see what's going on. So that means we have to go back to February 9th, 2004, to set up this historic date. We start by asking Tyson, what's your favorite show? It's Simpsons. Season 15, Episode 11, Magical History Tour. So when the library fails to help the kids on a school project, Marge tells Milhouse, Lisa, and Bart 3 Simpsons-style historical accounts of Henry VIII siring a son, Lewis and Clark exploring the U.S. wilderness, and Mozart. All right.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Or Justice League Unlimited, Season 1, Episode 1, Initiation. The Justice League expands their operations, enlists new recruits across the globe, and the newest is Green Arrow.
Wow. I think I have to go with Justice League Unlimited. This is an amazing episode. I love DC, and this is like one of the last amazing DC, like, I forget what style of art they were using at the time, but they switched to digital and kind of lost a little bit of its like awesomeness and sharp lines, because this is just like, it's gorgeous to watch. Like, I don't like Green Arrow necessarily as a hero, and it's like literally an episode based around him, but it also has Supergirl and I think somebody else.
It sounded like it. Yeah, I think in the description there was other people, so that's exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I definitely have to go with Justice League Unlimited.
Nice. Good job, Justice League Unlimited.
I look real good.
Of course, we're a grounded show. We have a space fortress. Justice League. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, they have to overlook the globe, so they need a global impact. I don't know.
Yeah, but like, did they ever get into the politics of like who says what's okay for these guys to get involved in?
I think a little bit, because like this is what this first episode basically is about. So, in this first episode, I'll go off on a small tangent. There's there's a monster in like some random island nation, and essentially it's their like manufactured monster, so they're trying to contain it. And every time like the Justice League shows up to like help them, the military's like, get out of here. And they're like, guys, it's literally rampaging across your countryside, we just want to stop this. And they're like, no, this is we'll handle this. And it ends up being like they end up working with the military people to be like, we're just going to put this down because that's all we want. And we just want to stop this thing from rampaging. And they just kind of like fly off and leave it like that. And so it's interesting that it's like, this is clearly like a nation that's a little bit more like violent and is building shit that they probably shouldn't, and the Justice League just show up to put it out, like put this fire out, and then they just like, let's move on. So
that sounds thrilling. I mean, I don't really like DC, so, but that sounds absolutely exhilarating.
It's a good show.
I don't care. It's all right, so like Superman is so too overpowered. So, anyways, top TV shows. So other shows you could be watching are House, Lost, Deadwood, North and South, Veronica Mars, Desperate Housewives, Rescue Me. Ooh, like those are boring adult shows. I'm a cool hip kid. That's definitely not almost like 20 at this point. We could see maybe cartoons. You get Bleach, Atomic Betty, Danny Phantom, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Justice League Unlimited. I don't know why that came up twice. So all right,
because it's just that good.
I guess apparently
this would be the show that I'd be watching right now of all these shows. And you're like, well, is Justice League Unlimited on? I'll watch this.
All right. Oh, yeah. But movies, I'm like, you know what? I'm actually like too young for even television. I need to just go to the real house and see what's going on in the old silver screen. So this week we got 50 First Dates and Lion King 1.5. Still in theaters though. You could see Barbershop 2, Miracle, You Got Served, The Butterfly Effect, and Win a Date with Tad Hamilton. All right, and you're like, oh, I don't remember seeing any of those. Maybe in a couple weeks though, you remembered seeing American Psycho 2, The Passion of the Christ, Eurotrip, Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen.
Interesting. I remember this time quite vividly, actually, for whatever reason.
All right, there you go. Dyson just loves him and Adam Sandler movies, and throw a little Drew Barrymore in there with Amnesia. That's like his perfect
Ashton
movie.
Kutcher, and then there's like Eurotrip, which is just like a really bad movie.
It's like Road Trip, but
it's Road Trip, but it's like American Pie, but it's like a road trip.
And where randomly Matt Damon is the lead singer of the band in it.
Yeah, I think that everybody was like, "I'm just happy to see Matt Damon getting work."
Yeah, like Matt Damon's not doing so well, guys. He needs what he can get. He doesn't have that crypto money yet, so
yeah, he doesn't, and he's not an Oscar winner or whatever. So
I think he did. I think he actually is an Oscar winner at this point.
I 100% think he is, but it's just like it's so funny that it's like, why is Matt Damon this like really upstanding, good, awesome, amazing actor? It's like, why is he in this like trashy movie singing as the lead singer of a band where he's singing a song about banging like the main character's girlfriend? It's like,
that actually is interesting. Like, why was Matt Damon in Eurotrip? Maybe he, sometimes you owe favors to people. Like maybe his buddy was doing the show and he's like, yeah, I'll show up. Why not?
Or maybe he just has a really good sense of humor and he got this script, came across it, and was like, I want this character. And they're like, we'll give you any character you want. If you want a character, you get it, Matt Damon.
I don't think Matt Damon takes himself too seriously. So
no, I don't think so either.
All right. How about top video games? So they're like, I remember this time like Tyson did. So other video games released this month specifically was R-Type Final. I don't know what that is. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles for the GameCube. So hopefully you got a Game Boy Advanced and 4 friends. Otherwise, you can't play this game. Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship Tour 2004. All right. Classic NES series games came out. Donkey Kong and Excitebike, Ice Climbers, The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Brothers. And then Pro Evolution Soccer 2004 came out. Steel Battalion Line of Contact. So there you go. There's your release cycle.
Interesting. Very so this was the year that the classic NES releases came out. So that's neat. I remember playing a heck of a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! And which was it, Crystal Chronicles? There was one that had like a little bit of a story on the GameCube, but it was like an offshoot.
No, it was Crystal Chronicles because we definitely had it at one point because I took our GameCube with me to like university in a couple years, or maybe like the following year after this, and I remember sitting there playing through at one point, and I just got to a point where I was like, this game is just ludicrous. Like, it's nonsense. It's just it's like a weird world building game, and there's no story. Right?
Gotcha.
It's like you're in a caravan, and you're supposed to like get Game Boy Advances and plug them. Anyways, it was one of those like that failed like Game Boy Advance GameCube expansion that just didn't quite work. So
Crossover of, hey, did you spend enough money and have enough friends?
yeah.
And
So I
all
mean,
like the same thing. It's like,
we were complaining about Nintendo earlier in the Switch, but it could be worse. They could be pushing a handheld and a console down our throats. So
true.
yeah. All right. How about development? So that's it. So that's the pop culture. Oh no, I forgot the songs. Oops.
Yeah, it's all
Oh
good.
yeah. Finally, we got to look at the top 3 songs according to the Billboard charts, just to kind of get our mindsets there. Even though I think we're both very vividly like knowing exactly probably what we're doing. Even this week, you could probably break it down that far. We're going to look at the top 3 songs. Number 3, according to the charts, was "Stand Up" by Ludacris. "Stand Up" was a different song.
No, because then he yells, "Stand up."
Stand Up. Okay, all right. Sure, why not? How about, so the number 2 song was "Hey Ya" by Outkast, but I think technically it wasn't "Hey Ya" by Andre 3000, and it was like technically not an Outkast production. It was like a solo album.
Yeah, but it was, and like, and was Big Boy?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they each released their own kind of album, and it was like a double album. But I think it was released as an Outkast album, but it came with in each individual side created by each.
Yeah.
So this is Andre 3000, but
Yeah.
it was part of Outkast. I don't
All right,
know.
but we'll call it Outkast. So "Hey Ya" by Outkast. I swear they say other stuff in it. So
Yeah. This song was huge. I still think is huge. Like, people, apparently this song is the number 1 song that you're gonna get into an accident to if you're driving in a car.
really,
Yeah.
huh?
Which is like, you figure it'd be an angry song. It's like, no, it's this song. It's like, yeah, because people get distracted because people start dancing and
Well,
singing.
you have to.
It's like-
Oh, yeah,
So-
100%. Like,
and
I
then
mean,
like there's the clapping in it, and you're like, don't clap.
That's
Keep
right,
those hands
that's
on the
right.
steering wheel. So
I like to shake it like a Polaroid picture. I could see that too. Like, you start shaking too much.
Yep. This
right.
is, and that's why this song was so big. It's like, it has built-in dance moves while you're listening. If you've watched the video, you know what you're supposed to be doing.
I mean, it is a good song. It's still on like running playlists I still have today. So when it comes on, I'm like, oh, great, awesome, cool.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
But speaking of Outkast, the number 1 song was also by Outkast, but I think it was technically by Big Boy, as we already discussed. The number 1. Cool.
Yeah, man,
Oh.
we were spoiled this year. We started the year with like, actually, might have been probably released in 2003. But if we're still listening to like that Outkast double album, it's like we're having a good time. So
Yeah, we're doing all right.
Yeah.
It was a good purchase. One of those double albums that was probably worth it. I definitely was playing around with my recording volumes because I was looking and like sometimes I was talking, it looked like I was blowing up. So I dropped my volume a little bit. And I think our last podcast seemed like I was really loud, but it was just my crappy speakers, my phone. Anyways, speaking of which, so if I sound slightly quieter now and I just never went around to editing it, I don't know. Hopefully.
here we are.
Yeah,
Here we are.
This is where we're at. So hopefully the one song was loud and then I turned it down so the other songs maybe weren't so loud. And I'd like go back and listen to the whole thing when I edit, but I don't care that much. Here, let's go up to like 80% there. That's perfect. Now
It's too much work.
now we're oh my gosh. Like we've been doing this podcast for like almost 6 full years, and we still have like recording issues and audio dropout, and like our Pokemon Snap show is like almost unlistenable.
It's it's an ever growing, like you learn to appreciate what goes on in the production side of getting a regular show out. Like I understand why a lot of podcasts just kind of fizzle because
you go insane. Absolutely,
you go
just
crazy.
insane. Yeah, that's why I'm just happy with our mediocre product and like our Final Fantasy VIII. I think the music's too loud, but then it's like almost too quiet for when I'm talking over it. Anyways, we'll just move on. So that was 20 minutes of us talking about nothing. I don't know if we actually got anywhere in the first 20 minutes. I swear, this is a Metroid Zero Mission podcast. From this point on, we won't any side tangents. You suffered with us. Congratulations. I'm glad you're still with us.
Absolutely. Time to get into this actual like amazing game that we're not talking about. So
at all, yeah. So I mean, again, I think that's 20 minutes, so long. At some point, we used to be able to do it in 10, so I don't know why we doubled our length. Anyway, so development details of this fun game. Zero Mission was directed by Yoshio Sakamoto, and has been involved with the series since the original. While working on the concept for the next Metroid game after Fusion was released in 2002, one of the developers suggested a Super Metroid port for the Game Boy Advance, but Sakamoto decided to port the original instead. They wanted to return to the series' roots, but they wanted to include the upgrades from Fusion. The greatest challenge was adding enough elements to Zero to make it feel like a new, while keeping the spirit of the OG Metroid. Zero was used in the same engine that they built for Fusion. All right. The game marked the first time two Metroid games were released on the same system. And I guess the GameCube had two, and then no other game... Oh, no, the Wii had two, right?
Yeah, and I was going to say, and the game... what the heck? Because we got... Didn't we get... And like two games on the
3DS?
Yeah.
There was like Metroid Hunters and then Samus Return
also,
of Samus
like,
or something.
Wasn't there 3 Prime games? Or...
Yeah, but there was 2 on the GameCube and then 1 on the Wii.
Oh, okay.
So Metroid Other M and Metroid 3 Corruption or whatever it's called is on the Wii.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so not the last time. All right, I'm glad we talked that through. Fusion was able to be connected to Prime on the GameCube. Zero was planned to have some connection to Prime 2, but the development dates were too far apart to make it feasible. They wanted to add more of a story to the OG Metroid, but keep the mystery intact. The game accomplished this via cutscenes, which eventually are just like still images, to help move the narrative along and reveal some of Samus's backstory. The battle with Mother Brain marked the end of the original Metroid. However, Zero offers an extra story segment featuring Samus in her blue Zero suit. Spoilers. Zero was first revealed at E3 in 2003. It was ranked the best-selling Game Boy Advance in the US the month it was released, and the third best-selling game of its console. So I'm glad that it outsold the release of the Game Boy Advance Classic series. Yay.
Yeah. Well, I think that this game is such a gem. It's really the remake done right. Like, they tried to keep it very faithful, and really, I think the new engine was a brilliant idea because this game feels like so smooth, and there's lots of fun like little tricks you can do. Yeah, I think that this really feels like a next-gen reimagining of the original Metroid game, because like now that I would go back and replay, it's like, do I want to, or do I just want to play Zero Mission?
Oh, I don't want to spoil anything, but this is the definitive version. You want to play Metroid the original? I'd start with this. I'd just play this game. It's better.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Like, you can go back and appreciate it, and like if you really want to select through, but if you just kind of want it for story, you haven't experienced it for a while, just play this game. This is the best experience. So the controls, you can move around in the directional pad. A jumps, B shoots. All right. Holding R selects missiles or super missiles to be shot, versus just the standard beam, which you have normally. Pressing down twice puts you in a morph ball where you can jump and plant bombs. You do get unlimited jumps at some point. Screw attack, so an unlimited jump. And you can collect missile upgrades and energy tranks to increase your ammo and health capacity, respectively.
Yeah, and there's like wall jumping, and there's the there's like a dash system, which
speed
you
boost.
can really break the game using it. which is wonderful, because it feels like this game was just meant to be like messed around with, and you don't have to necessarily follow the main path. They almost encourage you to like play this when you're playing this again. Take a different route. You don't have to necessarily take the route that we're laying out and all these like little cutscenes.
Interesting. So you think that's intentional?
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Because I almost felt like this game was built. Maybe there was a sequence breaking, but I almost felt like this game was super linear, right? And it kind of went away from that roots of the Super Metroid. And that's kind of one of my problems with it. I guess I'd have to play Fusion, which came before this, because maybe they start moving away from that formula in Fusion, right? And Fusion's more of a linear experience. So it's like, all Metroid games are like this, right? With the little Wii markers and stuff like that. So
yeah, they definitely encourage. That's like, I think for first-time playthroughs or like canon playthroughs, they kind of intersperse that around. But yeah, you can break this game and just skip like the first section. There's a spot where you can literally just shoot down, and you can just skip the entire like long cannon or what the heck the thing is called. And you can just keep going, and there's like so many different areas where you can just like skip things. Yeah, I think Metroid games, because like of this time, are so like segmented, and everything you have to go like to this different area once you unlock this, or you can just like once you get certain abilities, you can kind of just like bypass that. So it has a almost like a choose your own adventure kind of thing. If you just like know what you're doing, and if you beat this game a million times, you could probably just like come up with your own different route and just try to be like, can I beat it doing this? I think it'd work really well with randomizers and stuff. So
interesting. All right, cool. Oh, that's tough though, because then you need to like have all those extra skills. I guess it's like randomizers and Super Metroid with wall. Anyways, so on to the first memories of this game. This is my first playthrough. I kind of recall it being like a blip on my radar. I had a Game Boy Advance and some money at the time, but I think I was more into the console markets than the handheld market, and there's just lots of the Game Boy Advanced library. Like if I looked at it, I just skipped out on for some reason. Actually, I think at some point I like lent my Game Boy Advance to somebody and then never saw it again, and then had to get it later, right? So
yeah, I remember having like a black one.
You did have a black one. Yes.
And it was a lot of fun. Like I love that thing. But I think the problem with Game Boy Advance, like all handheld games, is you kind of felt bad buying like that, and like you felt bad buying like this handheld game. You're like, this is awesome. But a lot of the time you're just like, but I want to buy like a console game, so when I'm sitting at home and I have some time to like myself and I'm not just like at school. Like, I'm not going to play my Game Boy Advance on my, like, recess breaks. I'm going to play with my friends. It's like, it's just different. Like,
yeah, we hadn't mastered the art of watching television while listening to music and playing a video game like we do now, right? Because that's how I play video games. I'll put, like, a TV show on and listen to a podcast and play, like, my handheld Switch. And I'm like, what am I accomplishing with my life?
Multitasking like a beast. That's exactly how I sometimes get through things. Because, like, especially when we're just kind of rallying out games, you need to just do this. But I don't know. This was one of those games where I almost wanted to just put all that stuff down and just play it because it was fun, and like it almost made me like I love speedruns, and the speedrunning community of this game is like crazy, like all Metroid games. And there's like this one dude that like has like figured out all this stuff, and there's a lot of different techniques, and there's stuff that like I like speedrunning, but this is like such precise mechanics that you just have to get down, which is cool. Yeah, but I think we should probably just get into this game.
No, I want to just keep mucking about. So on a list of the best Nintendo games of all, or Game Boy Advance games, it ranks third. That's pretty exciting. That's
awesome. And I mean, I totally believe that. Like this game, I wish the Game Boy Advance got more recognition because it's such a deep, awesome library of like.
Mother 3 is number 2, and Aria of Sorrow is number 1.
Oh my god! We'll see when we get into that one.
All right, so there you go. So Tyson, I destroyed his confidence in that list. Perfect, good. All right, yeah. So into this game. Sorry, mucking about. I hate when we muck about. Half an hour. This will be pretty fast. There's really not much going on in the level notes section, and then we're kind of done. So that's okay. So the story of this game, is that where we're at? So in the year 20X5, that's weird that they were specific with the 5 at the end. The cosmic calendar, the space pirates attack a deep space research vessel and seize capsules containing samples of an unknown species that has been discovered on the planet SR388. If Tyson's reading along with this, there's so many spelling errors. It's really, I don't know how I'm reading this. The space pirates wanted to use these species known as Metroids to breed and use the creatures as biological weapons. The Federation police launched an all-out attack on the space pirate base on planet Zebus. However, the defenses proved to be too formidable. As a last resort, a bounty hunter was called in to penetrate the base and destroy the Metroid Mother Brain. We could dub this her Zero mission, or however it says it in the game, and I'm like, well, that seems kind of corned in.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of goofy, but I'm happy that this has a story. Like, I mean, it kind of establishes things instead of just like dropping you into this like freaky world. Like, I appreciate ambiance, but it's kind of nice to know the context.
Yeah,
considering
100%. Yeah. And I think you might have got that if you read through you just have to read through the guide.
Yeah.
Right, as a kid, or like the manual. And that's like kind of the cool parts of those old manuals is like, oh, that's where the story came from, right? I like those elements where there's kind of different multimedia assets of it. Now you could just watch like a YouTube video and it would set you up or something, right? So.
Yep.
All right, so on to our level notes. This is our Let's Play section. So remember at the top, we said we're a pop culture. We did that. A Let's Play, that's this part. A review, so you're going to get kind of our take. I guess you've already kind of got our hot take, but we'll get that a little bit more at the end. And what's the other part? Retrospective?
Yeah, and that's the kind of this part.
I guess is like Let's Play retrospective. It's kind of like development details too, right? Like we talked about that. I think the retrospective is a whole thing. We're side tangenting again. All right, cool. So on to the level notes. So the hunter returns. We enter the familiar Zebus, head left to collect the morph ball, and then travel along a single hallway. Make our way upwards through that hallway and find the long beam.
Yeah, pretty cool little area. Kind of just drops you in it, makes you feel very familiar. Getting the morph ball right away is necessity because it is key to this game. So
because Samus can't crouch, she only can roll in a ball. So
yeah. Well,
but she can crouch later.
The suit's very, very strange.
Okay, all right. So I like this part. It's familiar and it's reimagined of the opening sequence, right? And I have a note here that it might be the most iconic opening in video game history.
It's definitely up there.
We'll get more into that later, but I was like, yeah, because I mean, think about it. It's Metroid, Super Metroid, this game, and doesn't another game kind of hint at this? Like, we're looking at almost like 3 or 4 games that kind of follows the same little cute little sequence.
Potentially maybe one of the 3DS games.
Something like that. All right, so about on to familiar territory. We can now open up a new passage and explore the available routes. We need to find some missiles. We can get the charge beam from a worm, find an E-tank, and get some bombs. Oh, we're just clipping along here.
Yeah, the worm boss is pretty cool because if you don't beat him right away, he runs away, and then you got to track him down and get the actual charge beam. But if you do it right the first time, it's not too hard.
Yeah, so anyone unfamiliar with this Metroid or Super Metroid should be familiar with this formula. It's nice/easy of the game to put markers on it to tell us where to go. It sort of kind of defeats the level design mastery that they adopted in Super Metroid. But I think they're making up for it with the lack of design in the first game.
Yeah, I also think that the Game Boy Advance, like they kind of thinking instead of like a Nintendo back in the day, where they're like, oh, anyone can play this, even if you're a young kid to an adult, you should be able to play this. To a point in the Game Boy Advance cycle, they're like, make this a bit easier so it's a little bit more approachable.
Yeah.
So
it is probably more of a product of the time and the market rate versus back in the day, Nintendo wasn't just for children, it was like adult gaming, right? So
yeah, they wanted to bring the console to the household, whereas that's not just like, hey, there's this thing that you should buy for your kids that you can play on the way to school.
Yeah, and I guess to my points, just to explain that, so as you're going along, you get these Chozo statues, and as you kind of morph ball on it, it like puts a waypoint on your map, so you know where to go next. So it just gives you, so you don't ever have that sense of feeling lost, right? So it kind of takes away from the exploration. And it'd be kind of nice if you could have turned that off, but it is what it is, right? And
Totally. And it's fine. Like, I mean, like I said earlier, the speed runs, you can just skip it. It's more of a suggestion, but it's nice that it's there for your first playthrough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so then where is my ship? So we need to head back to the beginning. We use our bombs to drop us down into Norfair. We find unknown item 1, pass by our ship, get a power grip so we can climb up ledges. We then use this ability to travel back to kind of the right in Norfair to get the ice beam, which allows us to get access to the boss, our first boss fights. Okay. I was doing a little bit of exploring. I went back every time I found an upgrade. I went back and looked at every single nook and cranny to see if I could find new items. But I kind of found it just like wasted at this point. And the marker is there. Just go to where the marker is, and you have kind of a better time than going back and exploring every little nook and cranny. So the game broke me.
That's fair. I know a lot in the alternate playthroughs or speedruns and stuff. Like you can, a lot of people skip going to this area first, and they kind of come back to it.
Okay.
Like I think you go like, you just go straight into Kraid, or to like the Kraid area. So
yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah. So then the Wingless Dragon. So there are several missile tanks, upgrades we can get along the way. We also have access to another energy tank. Okay, we get unknown item 2 before coming face to face with Kraid. He will give us the speed boost and more access to muscle upgrades. So that's pretty exciting. So with Kraid, you need to shoot him in the forehead, and then he opens his mouth. The first time I played this, I think I just like spammed all my missiles, and I had, 60 at this point. Died, not great. Next time I just literally took my time, and I beat him no problem. And I've also seen, the video or the footage of guys showing up with a super missile, and it's like 2 super missiles, and he dies. So he kind of just like shows up, and you're like, oh, you're dead, bye.
Yeah. One of the more difficult bosses in the game, but a lot of people just cheese it. I think if you have enough missiles, like at this game, if you've been picking up all the missile tanks, like you get really overpowered to a point where you can just spam missiles. You don't need to worry about trying to like charge beam or any of that nonsense.
So weirdly enough, in this adventure, I've actually recorded myself playing through it, and it's been posting every Sunday. You get 20 minutes of me playing through this game. Could have done it every day, but I wanted to just essentially create a giant backlog. Like, I think this series runs into like June or something. So you will now definitively, after listening to this, it's recorded in a couple weeks, it'll come out. You now know my full experience. You know how I achieved it. So you could actually go back in time and watch me play through this before or after having me listen to beating the game. It's a very weird time paradox that I've created in Podtendo lore at this point. So really hope it doesn't like break something out and some like evil doppelgangers from a different dimension show up and take us anywhere. So
yeah, it'd be really weird if we started playing some Sega games for no reason.
Yeah, so hopefully that doesn't happen. So, but it's one of those. Yeah, so, but with saying that, you'll watch me. I think every single boss in that game, I die once, like 2 or 3 times, and then the time I beat them, it's the simplest thing in the world. Like Kraid, it like killed me. Oh, and then he killed me again, and then I came back and I was like, "Okay, just take your time." And it was like maybe 30 seconds, and he was dead, and I was like, why were you so hard the other times, though? Like, huh?
Yeah. This game, I swear the RNG is just a little bit out to get you. You got to be fast on your toes.
But Metroid Dread was the same thing. Every boss I fought in that game, I died 2 or 3 times, and like the time I beat them, it was the simplest thing in the world. And I was like, why was that so difficult? Like, it's just, I don't know.
I swear that's a game design thing, though. Like, when the first time you beat somebody, like, you fight them 2-3 times, and then the game's like, oh, you're bad at this guy, let's put in the dumb AI, and then the dumb AI comes out, and you just like whoop it, and you're like, why did I struggle in the past? And you're like, well, the computer, the like game in the background's like, because they changed the AI to dummy version.
Yeah, I have to wonder that if the game feels bad for me, and then I feel bad for myself. So it's great for my self-esteem. But now she's heating up. That's not what the title's called, but that's a reference to NBA Jam. So before leaving this area, we have to find the high jump boots, which give us access to several more missile upgrades. We are then shown a path back to Brinstar from a statue. Follow it, and we get the Various suit, which now we can withstand heat and acid. And I love acquiring new upgrades in this game, but I sort of hate that I know where to go afterwards. It is way more fun to have to go back and kind of explore all the familiar areas with new upgrades to find new secrets and upgrades. Man, I'm really hung up on that, eh? Like, I'm just not going to let that go, so...
Yeah, but you know what? It's fair. Like I just think that because we've played this and like we played Metroid, and now we're replaying it again. It's like it's this very very similar game. Like,
you never played Metroid. I played it by myself. That was our pilot show. I did it just me. This is your first time technically playing this game.
I know, but I'm saying like I have played like
I see
Metroid in the past.
Okay. That's true. When you in your interview for this show as to be a co-host, I asked like, have you played this game? Because otherwise you'll always be behind me, and we don't want that.
Yeah, I was like, yes, I have, because I played the first little bit. I had it in my first 3DS. It was the first game I bought for download because it was $5 on sale. And
yeah, that's fun. Cool.
Yeah.
I think I remember that actually, and it was like, and the Zelda, and it was like at that point where I maybe hadn't played the original Zelda for a while, and played through it, and I was like, this is the most challenging experience of my entire life.
Yeah, and then it unlocked something in us. We're like, let's go back and replay these games. Like, I'm a glutton for this punishment.
Oh, I love my own voice. I should make a podcast. All right, so next part is just can't keep out of Norfair. So all the statues indicate that we should head back to Norfair to get the wave beam. While exploring, we find our first super missile upgrade. We can travel counterclockwise around this area, defeat some caterpillars in a room before grabbing an E-tank and heading to a boss fight. So it's the Kiru, a huge spore spawn that is held up from the ceiling. It drops down and creates a path to Ridley. I absolutely hated that larval bee so much. I was freaking out in the recording. It is kind of scary, and the fact that a 16-bit game scared the pants off of me, like, applauso. It does an excellent job of this game. If you don't feel creeped out, you're a monster.
Oh, this game's like, and props to the original Metroid 2, because like this game creates a nice atmosphere where it makes you want to like listen to these things with headphones, because like this will improve the gaming experience. And like, it's so funny that it's like the sound effects and just seeing it, like it feels like a really gross world where you wouldn't want to spend a lot of time in. Mm-hmm. And you're like, I get why. Like, Samus just comes in here, guns a-blazing, just like, I'm not asking questions. I'm just shooting things.
Oh, yeah, no, and that's kind of... that's the point. But, like, this part of the game is really creepy. Because you see this, like, larval thing, and it, like, kind of eats through the earth, and it's pulsating. And then at some point, it's, like, attached to the wall, and it's dug deeper. And then you come back to the room, and now all of a sudden, the larva, is like, the cocoon is opened. And that's where you have to go. You have to, like, follow this, like, little hole that it dug. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it right now. It was just so creepy. That's like 3 months in the future when that episode releases. Watch it in contrast with this old podcast for some reason you're listening to. So.
Just in case you got a backlog in your podcast for some reason. Yeah,
and you're, like, watching and you're like, oh my God, that is creepy. Or play this game up to this point and you'll be like... I mean, you'll beat the rest of the game because that's how it works. But it's so creepy. Well done.
You'll get hooked. This game's addicting.
This game is phenomenal, and this is one of those just big stand-up moments. And I just wanted to give that shout-out. So Ridley's Mega Pit is where we're headed next. So the game makes you circle back to the spawn we saw earlier, as its cocoon is inside a wall. Then it hatches and leads us to the next boss fight, the Amalgo. He's an overgrown wasp. If you hide on the right side, you can kind of just like aim up. And you shoot him, and he dies. So now you have all the tools we need to explore this area. You can solve a series of puzzles, find mystery item number 3, and eventually make your way to the boss area, Ridley. Before we leave this area, there are several upgrades we have to access, so make sure to grab them before you leave, as opposed to what I did. And then you look back, and you're like, there's like 3 energy tanks and all these upgrades, and you have to go back. It's really, really annoying.
Yeah. This game has... I wish that there was a better map of this game that had just all the unlocks, so you wouldn't you could just like look at it and be like, okay, have I hit all the spots? Did I miss anything? Because honestly, there's so many times where you go into a room and you're like, oh, this is like just a room or whatever, and like, no, there's like 3 hidden areas. So I can see why backtracking and like exploring with like mega bombs would be a thing back in the day, but it's like, I ain't got time for this. Where's my guide and a map?
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's one of those things where maybe it's good to look at a guide kind of before you leave each area. But, I mean, it's done well. Like, I think this area is a great final area, in quotation marks. You know, some tough enemies, lots of secrets. And this first, like, 2/3 of this game, I think, are excellent. Not saying the last third isn't great or there's any issues with it, but, like, I 10 out of 10. 100%. So, let's say, I don't remember what Tyson said, so I can't really have a conversation with him. Let's just move on to the next part. So the mechanical madness. So we are done all the side areas. We can find the screw attack. We can head to the Craig Ridley statue that I saw way back at the beginning of the game that I didn't even mention because it was so inconsequential. That blocks away. We can head through Mechanical Brinstar. We have to fight through some deadly hallways until Metroids attack. Oh no. Or sorry, dead hallways. Oh, that's scary because all the guys are dead. You need to freeze them and then pump them with missiles. Clearing out this area, you'll get to the final boss, Mother Brain. So she is protected via a long, heavily armed hallway. You need to destroy the barriers, break a protective case, and try to damage her while she shoots her arsenal at you.
Yes, yeah. I love hunting me some Metroids. This is such a fun part of the game where it feels like things are really ramping up, and like the Metroids come from like they almost uses like a it comes from the background and they come like flying out at you. It's really interesting. I love how they approach this. It's so well handled that I think that like I wish other games kind of like just had this. Like this game is pretty old, and I wish modern games had these kind of like thoughts where it's like the bad guys will come from like the back instead of just like randomly appearing, or you walk into an area and they're already there. It's like these characters make an entrance. Let them make an entrance. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just done really well, and it is just again that sense of dread that kind of comes over while you're playing this game. You understand that these Metroids are a threat, right? They take out everything else. All the space pirates are all kind of dead. I like that. Mother Brain fight is difficult. It's challenging. I think I struggled a couple times through my playthrough and then finally kind of watched the guy play it and then beat it no problem, right? Like I was just screwing around and then I was like, this is too tough. And then grabbed it, like not recording, and beat it in like 2 seconds. And I was like, son of a gun. These stupid boss fights. I hate them so much.
Yeah. Well, I feel like until you kind of learn the weak spots and the mechanics and what you should be doing, the bosses are very tricky. And then
yeah, and I mean, like, I kind of play, I think what I do play, I get, like, deer in the headlights, where I just stand and just, like, shoot as fast as I can, and I was like, this will be the strategy, not knowing that I have to use some type of agility and maybe, like, avoid attacks, rather than just being, like, a blunt object for a while.
Yeah.
Right, and then once you figure out the pattern, you're like, oh, yeah, okay.
I'm also very guilty of that, where, like, I'll be so focused on trying to avoid damage that I'm not even paying attention to what I should be damaging. Even though I have like way too much health and like way too much ammo, it's like I just need to just like breathe and be like, it's okay to take damage.
100%.
Just like focus on like what the weak spots of this boss is and just take them down. Because like at this point you have so many energy tanks and missiles. It's just like just shoot missiles and don't just try to stay alive. It's all good.
Games do, and then once I kind of figured out the little pattern, I was like, oh, this is actually very manageable. And it's just a matter of like, deal some hits, heal up, avoid some damage when she does her big attack, like hide in the corner, heal, go back and attack, and it's like a repeating game. It's not, you can't just stand there and like spam the button and be successful. So, you got to learn how to be more malleable in your play style.
Yep. And it's okay to fail and learn from your mistakes.
That's it. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, keep going. Yep. So afterwards, though, Mother Brain destroys, and you're like, hooray! A self-destruct sequence begins, and you're like, oh no! And you have to make your way out of the base and escape to your ship.
Time to rush.
And like you're like, oh, I don't have enough time. It's only 3 minutes, and you get to your ship, and there's like 2 minutes left, and you're like, should I explore more? That's the first thing I thought. I was like, did I miss something?
Right, and you're like, did something fall or unlock that I could have grabbed that I can't grab now because it's destroyed?
I don't like that. But like, hopefully, I don't get to come back to this area later with more upgrades and explore stuff. So.
Yep.
All right, so that's kind of it. So we didn't see that coming. So now, as we've escaped from the exploding base, we're surrounded by space pirates. Oh no, our ship crashes, and we must escape their base with only a stun gun and our Zero suit. So basically, no power-ups and no armor.
Yeah, and so the original Metroid is now over, and this is where the Zero mission kind of new extra content picks up. So
that's a good way of looking at it.
Very cool that it's like, here's the added content. Yeah, and that's like... Yeah, it's also very neat that like it's stealth and you're running around and it's like instead of running around blasting everything as soon as you can see it, it's like maybe take your time and try not to get seen.
Yeah, so the first time I played through this, I was at extension of my non-recording playthrough, so I kind of just played until I died, and I didn't save. So essentially I'm at one hit kills me. I didn't make it very far. When you do get to the save room, kind of right off the start, heal, you can take a little bit of damage, right? Like, it's not super unforgiving, but essentially it's like a 2D Metal Gear Solid experience. Guards are alerted, they come chase you, you can stun them or run away and hide. It's excellent, and I was like, yeah, I definitely would have played a 2D Metal Gear Solid game back in the day.
100%. And I think that just shows, like, man, if what was the one on the Wii that everybody hated? If that game was like this, like actually like had like stealth and had repercussions, like you cannot really take damage, like one hit kills, kind of do like just a really stealthy, like this game, man, that game could have been so good. And I think like as soon as I kind of got to this point in the game, you're like, I'm hooked. I do not want to put this down. I'm going to keep playing this. This is awesome. I'm so happy.
Yeah, no, it's excellent. Yeah, and it was kind of one of those things like hard to get through, and I ended with the itch where I had to put it down, and I had a bunch of like schoolwork I was working on, so I had to like stop. It was killing me. Like every waking second I was like, I want to sneak down to the basement and just play some more of this game. So where are we at? Didn't see that coming. No, childhood memories. So at the far end of the base, so basically we have to make our way through these ruins with just our stun gun. It sucks. We get to the Chozodia ruins. Maybe it's just Chozo ruins. I don't know why I added the dia. Some space pirates fulfill the hallways, but really some are avoidable. At the far end of the ruins, though, you find a room that reminds us of our childhood growing up with the Chozo race. We are tested.
Yeah, kind of finishes off a little mini like sneaking section, and then you get fully powered. And my question is, so is your suit always this fully, like this is the fully powered, like you have all your features that, like, because you just got the brand new top line Ferrari model and you just hop inside of it? Did they just give you a really bad suit to start, or did you just go into like that planet super unprepared?
I think you must have an older version of your suit or something when you leave, and you collect like the mystery items that are incompatible with your suit. So whatever those are, one of the beams is phaser, and there's one of the jumps or something. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right, and I think you get better defense, and like it's like that moment in the story where all of a sudden you get that final upgrade, and all of a sudden they give you that like the final whatever it is. Now you can use those other upgrades that we've been collecting.
That makes sense. It's like here's the Ferrari model with all the features, boxes ticked.
And now it's unlockable with these ancient artifacts you've now collected. We will now make them compatible with you, right? So
right, you could use them before, but now okay, makes sense.
Something like that. I don't know. Again, it's just is. But now
they're adding story. It's just nitpicking.
100%. So this is we have kind of two options. I think if we go to the left, we can go back and explore the Zeebs, the Planet Zeebs, right? The Norfairs and the Ridley areas with our new suits and these new mechanics, and you can get all the upgrades, right? There's probably about 30 to 40% of the available upgrades in this game, right? So you could do that, or you're like, no, I'm just gonna go back into the space base, beat the game. Okay, so I didn't go the other way. I went right. I went into the base. So we can now destroy the space pirates with little to no issue. We have access to the plasma beam. Here we go. Space jump and gravity suit. Unknown items 1, 2, and 3. Interesting. We can now we can just play through the final area. Oh, I already said that. The walkthrough makes it appear like the hidden item location all over the world. Son of a gun. I just said that. All right, so how about the final? Did you go into the world?
I did not. I did my exploring. I kind of went over everything with a fine-tooth comb, as I usually do, which is like, no, I'm ready to just let it end. I've kind of done all the side quests I want to do.
Yeah, that's right. I was like, I don't want to spend hours running around exploring, so I'm done. So final run. Here we go. So if we're sick of this game, we can just explore the Space Pirates base. You get the power bombs. Make your way to the final hallway to fight pirates. Because why not? There we go. Because why not have a mechanical version of yourself when you're in charge of a group of pirates? There you go. So you can space jump when he attacks and just hit him with super missiles. And he goes down really simply. Like, I know I died once in a recording, and then I may not have escaped the base in time. So I died again. So on my third playthrough, like, super easy to kill him. You should win. You have one final escape route, which gets you to a space pirate ship. And then you escape, and everything explodes. Hooray.
Yeah. It's kind of a lackluster little tacked on portion, but it's it's kind of like the same thing again. but slightly different. And it's a lackluster ending, but I had fun up until this point, and at this point, I'm not complaining about extra content, because essentially, we already played the game. This is just like all the playthrough plus stuff.
Yeah, and I do think the original playthrough, right, gave me an extra hour of playthrough, and so I think it was worth it, and like, it was fine. It was what it is, Leaves questions like, your ship's destroyed and you're in a space pirate ship. How do you get your ship back in the next game?
Yeah, you'd think that maybe she has like a home base that has lots of supplies, because I'm assuming.
Let's see if my internet works here.
So this is it's what, the Returns? Then no, it's this, then Returns, then Super Metroid.
So there's a manga series, then there's Metroid and Metroid Zero Mission. So this is the first game in the timeline. Then we go to Prime.
Oh, okay.
So that seems... And then Hunters, Prime Hunters, Echoes, which is Prime 2, Prime 3 Corruption, Prime Federation Force, Metroid 2 Return of Samus.
Okay, yeah, so it is Metroid Zero, then Return, then Super Metroid.
Then Super Metroid. So we've done that. So this is the first one, then we do 2, and we have to avoid all the Prime games. And then Super, and then Other M, and then Fusion, and then Dread. All right.
Yeah.
Again, lots of questions, but obviously she has lots of time in her young career, I suppose. So there you go. So about the endings of this fun experience. So you escape from the space pirates in their ship. Hooray. You can see Samus posing based on how well you did. There are 8 different endings. Oh my goodness. So you beat the game on easy. Samus is sitting on a rock in her gravity suit. I think that's what I had, which makes me think I played on easy, but I definitely played on normal, so I don't know what happened. Normal or hard, over 2 hours without 100% of the items. She is shown with her helmet off, so that's probably what I should have got. You play under 2 hours without 100% of the items, and she was revealed in her blue suit. Oh, okay, and her new Zero suit, that's fun. Hard or normal, over 2 hours with 100% of the items. She is sporting a 2-piece swimsuit while...
Ooh, fancy.
2-piece swimsuit in a bar. Okay. Hard under 2 hours with 100% of the items. Samus is standing on top of a cliff overlooking a city. Okay. Complete on normal with 15% or less of the items. Samus rests on top of a window in her 2-piece outfit. And hard with 15% or less items. She stands in a battle with her gravity suit while a large portrait of herself appears in the background.
I always appreciate the added touch of multiple endings. Yeah. I got she's just standing there with her helmet off. I think I was way over 2 hours on this one without 100% of the items, because 100% of the items is like crazy, because there's a few of the spots, like, to get them, I have no idea how you're supposed to like get these darn things.
Well, then I saw like some of them, it's like you have to speed boost through an area and then do a speed jump to like break all the blocks, and if you don't break it all in like the jump in the first sequence, you have to go back and redo it, right? So like you maybe miss a block and you can't get through. So it is very
and there's times where you have to like dash through one scene to another scene, and then like and then there's times where you have to speed boost in a ball, and you're like, this is madness.
Well, that's what I ever like there's definitely a part where when you're coming out of Norfair, there's a hallway and there's like a little speed block. And it's like there should be like a little one of those like ball shooter upper things to get some unlockable item. I was stuck there for a while, and maybe it's just because my controller wasn't responsive enough, but there was no way I was able to get into a speed boost and like drop down into the speed ball. So
so I think if we're talking about or you're thinking of the same area, there's a gap to the right. So what you're supposed to do is like literally 3-4 scenes, like screens over, there's like a speed boost ball like midway through a drop down, and you have to do that, and you shoot across one room, and then you go across like screen, and then you come across it that way. You have to come in from the right, and then you're just like, who in their right mind would ever figure that out?
So it wasn't you're running in a speed ball, and then you have to like, as you're running and charge it up, you have to like drop into your morph ball really quickly to get through there. Yeah, no,
you have to come in from the right. There's like a spot over, and it's not like, and you have to launch like midway through it's like one.
Okay, so
yeah. Anyways, it's a nightmare.
So future Mick that's playing through that gets stuck on this and asks, "Can someone explain this to me?" Just listen to the podcast that's released before you get to that part in the playthrough. You will have this information, and you can now change the future. So there you go. Paradox created.
Yep. And if that doesn't happen, we'll probably have some crazy things happen this year.
It's true. All right. So current thoughts. What a solid addition in the Metroid series. It updates the original and makes it more palatable without changing the core game. Love that. I've always viewed Super Metroid as the upgraded Metroid 1, but this game kind of stays independent of that Super version, which I think is awesome. It's very well done. It's clean, creepy, great handheld experience. However, the map markers did take away from my personal experience, right? I didn't think there was too much exploration, and after maybe the first hour, I just kind of found myself where the map marker goes, I would just go, right? Because I was like, there's no point in exploring, right? So it's kind of a similar formula to Dread, and it's my biggest complaint about that game. So I think it's just, I don't like that these Metroid games are slowly becoming linear, and this is one of the examples of it, right? Versus the free exploration experiences of like later games, or like more renowned Metroidvania experiences, right? So
totally. And I think if that, I know that there's like a lot of shortcuts, so you can cut around. But definitely, like, this is them kind of laying the cards on the table and saying, this is the route we want to go, is we want to make this more linear. And I get the goal of trying to make things more like linear. It just honestly makes the game easier, because like to program and build, because making a complex and convoluted world where you have to go back and unlock these things takes a lot of time and effort. And I could see why they would just want to simplify that just for their own sake. But that doesn't necessarily make a better gaming experience. Because I know in this game, honestly, I was kind of like, it's a Metroid game. It's going to remake Metroid, the first Metroid. It'll be better graphics, whatever. And then I kind of got like down into the rabbit hole of like the speed running and how there's different routes and even in like that. But the funny thing is, even in that community, like it took them like a good chunk of years. People were just kind of doing what they wanted to do, and that's like, they're like, well, I guess that's just the fastest way of doing it, until like they actually broke this game down and got the ROM and got the randomizer happening so they could test these things. And they ended up finding there's like lots of different gaps and you could do things different ways. But like it took a long time for people to figure that out. And that's like the bloody speedrunning community who are like dedicated to this. So it's a very linear experience, and it takes a lot of know-how to break that linearity. But once you do, it can be very fulfilling, I think.
Well, I don't want to do that. That doesn't sound like something I would like. So what would you change? If you could change something outside of the linearity through speedrunning, what would you change?
I mean, I think just having to run over and grab the morph ball is a little bit like archaic. Just let me have it. But it's not even an argument. It's just a personal preference. I don't know. I don't think I would change much. This game gave me Metroid redone.
Yeah.
And then gave me a little added stuff and included the Zero suit, so I'm happy.
Cool. The only thing I would change is I think removing the map markers, or having an option to turn it off. Right, like normal difficulty, you don't get the map markers, you get it on easy difficulty. I think it would have just been more of a interesting experience for me, right? It would have kind of pushed that exploration that I want to do, right? Like, I don't really want to know where I need to go in video games. You need it almost in 3D games, because 3D gaming world design is actually kind of horseshit, right?
Yeah.
Right, because like let's say you're in an open market in Resident Evil 5 at the beginning of the game, and you have to get to the ending that they want to get you to. Well, they have to create artificial barriers to kind of funnel you where you want to go, because they haven't created a fully fledged 3D world for you to be in.
Yes, and
right?
3D games are just like inherently linear. You can have a big open room with like lots of like things you can run around in, but essentially it's like you can work your way around. It's like a maze. You just work your around, stick to one side, work your way around it, and magically enough, you've explored everything there is in this bloody world. Like
or like Skyrim. Skyrim's the opposite, where it is an open world experience, and there's so much to do. But if you don't know where to go for a quest, they're like, go to this cave and find this wizard. Unless they tell you where to go, like you're going to spend 7 years walking around looking at everything, and it's too much, right? So it's either it's like too little, or it's too much. Whereas 2D doesn't have that. Right, so like the map marker is a 3D gaming convention that they pushed into a T2 space, which I don't think needs to be there.
I get that.
Right.
Especially because it kind of like if the game's about exploring and backtracking, it kind of makes it be like, well, what am I think? I'm not thinking. I'm just doing.
Yeah, and like for example, playing Hollow Knight, you have no idea where to go, and the number of times I've spent like going across the map to like fight a little boss, and all I do is get like one little unlockable, and I'm like, man, that really seemed like the way to go. Like, what else am I missing? You have to kind of go back and rethink your steps and like follow stuff. I don't know. Those are more fulfilling to me. And that's kind of what I like out of my Metroidvanias. But like, whatever. It's again small complaint. Just turn it off, and I would have been happy. Oh, and also the scary bee larva. We could all live without that. I don't need to re-exist that in my life. So.
That's fair. Just take it out.
Yeah, just take it out. It's too scary. How about a final, are you buying it? And then I guess our retrospective of this game is done. We have one little other section we could talk about and go from there. So, are you buying it? So the Space Pirates are a group of rebellious races that are fighting against the Galactic Federation. They believe in freedom and peace. Their ultimate goal in the Metroid series is to use the Metroids to bring harmony to all worlds. Therefore, Samus is a pawn of the Federation and single-handedly takes down this group of rebels and restores power to the evil Federation.
I think that everybody is a little bit too trigger happy in this world.
Yeah.
Not a lot of conversations happening. A lot of people just like as soon as they see something, they just shoot it. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming this is a very dangerous world, but it'd be nice to have that kind of context because as far as I know, whoever shoots fastest wins.
There you go. All right.
And that's the Metroid universe.
There wasn't a lot on this game. I was just pulling at strings, so I found that somewhere. Thought I'd share it with you. That's it. Done. All right.
Could
we have a
be.
Big bow on this game. We're done. I guess in a month's time we're back with Metroid Fusion, so we're not really even leaving this galaxy anytime soon. We're going to be still playing Game Boy Advanced Fusion games, right? So, or Game Boy Advanced Metroid games. So we're staying there for at least a little while longer. So maybe something will happen in that game.
I think so. Should be.
Hopefully
good.
it's not scary. Because you know how I feel about scary Metroid games.
Yeah, hopefully there's no like scary larva bugs or anything running around.
Oh, or an evil suit? That would be awful. All right, so final cultural significance. And I guess we're done. So in this section, we look at game tropes, marketing tactics, interesting stories. We talk about how this game relates, give other examples, tie it all back together in the end, which is nothing that we do in this. Basically, I just get listicles because I'm boring. So, we have been down this road before. We've seen remakes, we've seen remasters, and we've seen reimaginings. Remakes are like a new spin on an old experience. Remasters are just a fresh coat of paint on a game. And reimaginings are the same game, but with a new spin, which is kind of the same as a remake. So, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, I think remake is like, or a reimagining is like you're taking...
But like my first example...
It's Final Fantasy VII Remake.
I guess. But like my first example kind of makes me think that this is actually a remake. So let's look at some other reimaginings, as I call it, before getting to that opening area. Okay, I gotcha. So some examples of reimagined video games are Resident Evil Remake for the GameCube. It literally says remake right there. So what was I thinking? Maybe remakes and reimaginings are kind of like the same thing.
Could be.
All right. How about the Prince of Persia for the Xbox Live Arcade?
Yep.
All right. I put this one in here just to piss you off, but Ghosts and Goblins Resurrections?
Boo. Boo with this game.
All right. How about Gauntlet 2014 release?
I need to play this game because it's...
kind of want to play it too, and I feel like we were talking about games we want to play. I feel like Gauntlet for like the N64 should be there, like as a game we play this year.
Yeah. Maybe that's a game that we sub in instead of another game.
Instead of another game, okay, we'll talk afterwards. I mean, we could also just like play Gauntlet at some point. So
yeah, let's just play Gauntlet. All
right, so Pac-Man Championship Edition and the FF7 remake.
Yeah. See, I want to say like the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yep.
Like that's definitely like a reimagining because it's really just like it's not the like if you played the first one, you can't just use the same maps. Like I mean, if the maps change and like you can't use the same guide, right. It's like this is reimagining.
Okay, how about Doom? All right, Sonic Mania. That's a little different. And Link's Awakening HD. Yeah. All right. So, again.
I haven't played that one. So,
It's not bad. Yeah, it's all right. It's cute. I played it on like hero mode. Really. Anyways, I wouldn't need to get into that. So and now so that's done. It's a good remake, reimagining, whatever you want to refer to it as. I think this one holds up.
Absolutely. I think this is almost the definitive edition. So,
I mean, it's way better than, say, like Metroid 2 Samus Returns for the 3DS, which we both think the Game Boy version is better.
Yeah, that's a sad world.
Yeah, that's a sad world. Okay, and then most iconic openings in video games. Okay, so I think coming down the elevator, getting the Morph Ball, and then kind of journeying on has to be up there, right? It was in Metroid, it was in this game, it's in Super Metroid. It's just up there, right? Like, it has to be kind of held in that high regard, at least in my mind. So other classic iconic openings are Batman Arkham Asylum, right? So we kind of, see the Joker in the car. We get introduced to the Rogue Gallery as we walk around through the kind of the intake area. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's very cool, and it kind of like shows that, like, how does Batman get trapped in Arkham Asylum? It's like that's a question that you have to ask when that happens, and this answers it quite wonderfully.
Oh, and like you kind of get to see everyone in like their big, like, you get to see Croc and he walks by and he's like, "See you later, bud," and you're like, "Oh, that sounds like a scary boss fight," right? So really, really well done. We have God of War 3. So if you ever played that one, it's the Titans battling the gods on Mount Olympus.
I have not played that one, but that sounds epic. Yeah,
it's pretty good. Like, essentially the end of God of War 2 is he weakens the Titans and brings them through time to Mount Olympus, and he's like, "Zeus, you're going down," and it just starts with this giant battle, and you're like, awesome. How about Resident Evil 4? So we go from Raccoon City, and there's zombies, and all of a sudden we're in the Spanish countryside, and there's a chainsaw man, and then Leon gets to say something like, "Where'd they all go? Church?"
That's funny. Yeah, it's that. Like, this one's so good. This is the classic. This ramps up the tension and everything, so...
Yeah.
Very cool.
How about Breath of the Wild? So we wake up, we see the scale of this game, but like, what is the most iconic Zelda opening, though? That's a good point. So I copied this from a list. They said Breath of the Wild, and I'm like, is that the most iconic? Is that even the most iconic Zelda opening?
Yeah, see, I like Link's Awakening.
Right? You wake up, you have to go to storm the castle, and then kind of the world starts. Like, I think that one holds up. Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask,
Yeah, the Navi one, it's like, who cares?
Yeah, like, I'm just kind of running through them in my head quickly. Twilight Princess, I'm just not really a fan. Wind Waker,
Yeah, I think it's Link's Awakening.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's the storm in the castle. You immediately have to go save the princess because something's up. Your uncle's dead, or your dad's dead, or what the heck it is. It's like, yeah, this is some serious business.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. How about Super Metroid? So number 5 is inappropriate for this game. Though it could be higher, maybe 3.
I think you're talking about the list. You're mad that it wasn't higher.
I guess. Okay. Good. Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's quite shocking. Those who don't know about the spoiler of this old game, you like cruising around on your ship and then you get blown up. Yeah,
and then you have to kind of like, that's how your character looks different. You have to like rebuild them. It's kind of cool. I have only played through maybe the first part of Mass Effect 2, and then I had some weird DLC. So I had this like super powered armor, and I went on my first mission, and I was like killing everyone with like one bullet with my super powered gun, and I was like, I feel like I've already beat this game. So
DLC will do that.
Yeah, I did that. I think it was like Dragon Age 2, where I got some DLC and I had this like super powered armor, and like I was killing the first bad guy in one hit, and I was like, oh, oops, oh well. But Uncharted 2, the train crash, I think was kind of cool. I think that's what they're referring to. Okay. Final Fantasy 7, and I just put yes with 2 exclamation marks. I think the whole first mission of that game, right? It has to be iconic, right? Like,
especially in comparison to Final Fantasy 8.
Oh, stupid Final Fantasy. I can't believe we have to talk about it for like another 2 months. That's terrible. But The Last of Us. So we kind of watch the chaos erupts, and we see the death of Joel's daughter. It's kind of haunting and just kind of really sets the tone of the game very well.
Yep. Very cool. I mean, well, not cool, but I mean, it's that needs to be on this list because that one's like so timeless and heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's newer, but I guess at this point, like, it's over 10 years old or something. And then, of course, Bioshock. So the lighthouse and the revealed underwater city is just pretty incredible, right? And if you know anything about the Bioshock series, the lighthouse is very important, right? So
And there's lots of hints even in the opening of what's to come if you're paying attention or you're playing through it for a second time.
Nice, cool. Yeah, that's one of those. I'm like, should go back and play some of these games. There's a lot of good games on this list that I feel like deserve more attention. So that's a good sign that all of these openings, I'm literally like, I should play God of War 3 again. Like that was really fun. But I should only play God of War 2 again because I want to see that weird room where Jesus is in it. I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. I want to talk to someone about this so badly.
Interesting. I guess I gotta replay the God of War franchise because I played 1 and 2 and I just like put down the series and was like, I think I've had my fill.
Yeah, fair enough. 3 is just kind of like over. Yeah, at 3 I kind of want to go back. All these games on this list, I'm like, I want to go back and play. So that's a great sign. So in both cases, Metroid Zero Mission holds up as a great reimagining, as well as holding one of the, if not the most iconic openings in video games histories. And for that reason, it is culturally significant. See what I did there?
Yes. Well, I think as far as remake, it's like, this is how you do it. This is the template. Everybody step up. This is the standard. Do this and stop messing about with all this shenanigans. Looking at you, Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, just give me upgraded graphics. That's all I want.
It's all we've ever wanted. Like, even to a point where we're like, literally just somebody just take their like in-game or in-battle sprites and just port them to the outside of the world and just have like replay all, like just reanimate all the cutscenes.
We don't need horny Jesse. We don't need ghosts.
No, it's called the animators were horny, so everybody has to make everybody like pretty, and everything's about people trying to like flirt with each other, and you're like, this was barely in the bloody like game.
Yeah.
Like, yes, Cloud and like Aeris and Cloud and Tifa, but it was never like, if they were like more like romantic, not constantly that's like, let's just bang. It's like, my God, this freaking. Anyways.
Yeah.
And yeah, but
did we talk about Final Fantasy Remake during our Final Fantasy retrospective last year?
I think we touched on it.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad we did our due diligence. So good job, us.
Yeah. Well, if we didn't, here we're tacking on the end of Metroid Zero, which is already a long episode.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Not bad. Like, so we're at 116-ish. So, you know, you just truncate some silences, add my little sound things. We're at like maybe like under 120. We spent 20 minutes like before the Wayback Machine, so that's not bad. So it's like 105. That's pretty standard for an episode.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Cool. So, yeah, like Tyson said, that's kind of, I guess, the end of the episode. We're close. Instead of talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake, why don't we say bye for this episode? We're back in a month's time, where we're playing Metroid Fusion. So chronologically, it makes sense, but like when it release date, it was actually before this. So it'd be interesting to go back and now play like the Oedipus. Now that we kind of know the controls, well, I'm curious to see how like Fusion kind of pans out. So.
Yep, should be good, and I look forward to it. But I guess I have to say James Bond or something at the end of this.
I thought you were done with that because No Time to Die had come out and we played GoldenEye, so you were just like taking that curse off of you.
Okay, good. Let's take that away. So
yeah, all right, sweet,
right.
Cool. So with that, I think we say goodbye. See you guys in 2 weeks' time. We're doing Final Fantasy VIII because we love that game, and yeah, then we're back in a while. So goodbye.
See you.
Okay, bye.